Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here to give you the latest updates around Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider and also available in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7. Let's get to it.
On with the show. Right, so first up this week, the very first update we've got is to do with Google Chat. So you can now add custom emojis to Google Chat. So emojis are a great way for people to express themselves in Google Chat, and Google is excited to announce that they're making emojis even more expressive and personalised by allowing people to create custom emojis. Everyone in an organisation can view and use custom emojis uploaded by their colleagues in chat, messages and reactions. So that's quite cool. But before launching to end users, admins can set organisational guidelines and designate emoji managers who can browse and delete custom emojis that do not adhere to the company's guidelines. So these admin controls will begin rolling out before the end user functionality to create custom emojis is available.
That's a very good security precaution that Google's put in there. Yeah, I can imagine if you set that out to everybody, it might get a little bit out of control, especially in an education environment as well, Adam.
Yes, right, so we've got a bit more on this. So as one of the top requested features, custom emojis help teams develop their culture and enable people to express themselves more authentically in chat. So that's cool. This feature will be on by default for everyone in the organisation, but admins can limit who can create custom emojis, including just turning it off for everybody at an organisational unit level if they want to. Admins can also designate emoji managers to the organisational unit level, and if the creation of custom emojis is enabled for your organisational unit, you can create custom emojis in the web version of chat or Gmail by navigating to the Create button within the emoji picker. From there, you can upload an image of your choice, give it a descriptive name, and then use your custom emoji while sending or reacting to messages in chat. And just one thing to note on that is that custom emojis that you create can be viewed and used by everyone within your organisation. So that then they won't just be unique to yourself; it will be to everyone. Your friends or colleagues will also be able to use them as well.
Yeah, okay, that's a very important point, because I can imagine if you let too many people be custom emoji managers, depending on the size of your organisation, those custom emojis themselves might get quite large and quite unwieldy. So yeah, if you've got an emoji that's interesting. I wonder if Google's almost going to make a change to that, because if you create a custom emoji that's maybe you, like your particular face or something like that. We were saying before we started recording, weren't we, Adam, that this is almost like Apple's Memoji feature. Not quite, because this is completely custom, whereas Memoji is you sort of make a version of yourself as an emoji character. But it's with this, you're more sort of putting up your own thing. So I can imagine that in the future, possibly, I wonder if Google's going to restrict it down so that you've got the option of it only being available to you or a group of people or to the entire organisation, because otherwise it might get quite large with the amount of custom emojis that are in there. I tell you, the most interesting thing about this feature that I'm quite surprised about is they said, maybe Google's just saying this, but they said, as one of our top feature requests. Personally, that really surprises me. Maybe I'm a bit old school or a bit too business, but I just find it surprising that is what, because let's face it, Google Chat, I would say, is probably used by businesses mostly. It's sort of within the Google Workspace arena, and it's kind of a direct comparison to Slack. So I would say that it's mostly business users that use it. And I do understand what they're saying about sort of adding to authenticity in the workplace. I know that is quite an important thing, especially in America. But I'm just quite surprised that it's a top rated feature. I would have thought more like replying to individual messages and some of those other recent updates that we've seen would be a bit more up there. And I think there's still some things in chat which Slack can do, for example, that Google Chat can't do. I'm quite surprised this is up there, Adam.
Yes, it's a fun update, and people do like fun updates. But I can definitely see how it could potentially get a bit out of hand or inappropriate. But that's why it's good that there are the admin controls in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Who's this going to be available to, and when's this coming out?
So the rapid release and scheduled release for the admin controls of this is starting on October the 24th, and the end user functionality, the rapid release is starting on November the 8th, with scheduled release starting on November the 30th. This is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, as well as legacy G Suite Basic and business customers, but this will not be available to users with a personal Google account.
Oh, right. So that actually reinforces what I was saying, that this is really for business level sort of products. It's not for personal use. It is really targeted at business, education, things like that. Yeah, like I said, I'm just very surprised that it's quite a highly requested feature myself, but it's nice to have those fun updates in there as well. And it's very nice that Google are doing that scheduled release in the admin console they're doing the release in the admin console first and then the end user release much later in November. It gives admins a chance to set up it for their organisations if they want it. Great. What's the next update, Adam?
Right, next up, stronger admin console protection with risk-based re-authentication challenges. So, in August 2022, Google announced strengthened safeguards for sensitive actions taken in your Google Workspace end user accounts. Specifically, this update protected users from bad actors taking over accounts via cookie theft. Beginning today, Google are extending this protection to the admin console. So currently, the admin console prompts users to re-authenticate every hour. Google are extending the current protections with additional signals to detect potential cookie theft. If a risky session is detected, then Google will issue extra challenges, such as mobile notifications or the use of a security key. Once the user has successfully verified, they'll be redirected back to the admin page that they came from. So that's quite good. So they won't just have to start straight from the beginning. They will just be able to continue where they were before. And a little bit more on this. So this is important because this adds an additional layer of security which helps intercept bad actors who have gained access to the admin console using a stolen cookie. Cookie theft is a session hijacking technique whereby accounts can be accessed by exploiting cookies stored in the browser. The additional Verify It's You challenges help ensure only authorized users are accessing your organization's sensitive information and data, preventing bad actors from taking damaging actors. Further, these challenge attempts will be logged as admin logs events, allowing for further admin investigation.
Great, well done, Adam. Yeah, these I don't know who writes these Google updates, but they can sometimes put in quite a lot of technical language that all sort of compacted together. So well done getting through that. I think this is very relevant to something that I read recently in a IT security blog, and apparently there's been a bit of a spike in bad actors or hackers basically using and exploiting the pop-ups in the apps. So when you're doing two-factor authentication, you can do it in a multitude of ways. You can either have a code which is available on an authentication app. You can have a code pushed to you via text message, and there's something interesting that you've got on a security risk with that, Adam, that you can explain in a bit that you were telling me before the recording. And the other way is you can have an app on your phone and it pushes a notification through to your app, and then you have to kind of biometrically authenticate on your phone or something like that to enable the prompt on the app. The problem is, what is happening apparently is hackers are kind of spamming those requests. They're just attempting to access, attempting to access, attempting to access. As an end user, you're seeing a multitude of challenges on the console. That's the first thing that you're seeing. And then you're seeing a multitude of requests on your app. And so you don't know whether it's you or whether it's somebody else. And basically what's happening is users are just saying yes, 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 yes on the app. And that's leading to then accidentally letting in that bad actor or that hacker into their account. So I think this is good. I think this is another layer of Google trying to look at suspicious things that are going on. Is somebody accessing the admin console from two locations simultaneously? I would guess, anyway, I'd surmise from what they've said. Two locations simultaneously with the same login or something like that. And presenting these verify it's you challenges. What I would say is it's then dependent on how you then authenticate against those with your two-factor authentication or whatever it is that Google challenges you with, as to then how effective that might be. Personally, I would stick to the codes that are auto-generated on those authentication apps and change every 30 seconds. I've found that those have consistently been the most reliable authentication method. What was it you were telling me before we did the recording, Adam, about these text message codes being stolen?
So what they were saying, it was on the radio just a couple of weeks ago. There was a bit of a trend of people that they were going around typically to a gym and breaking into lockers whilst people are working out and they've got their belongings stored in their locker. So from the locker, they would steal someone's credit or debit card as well as their SIM card from their phone. And then they would go away, and then on their own phone, they would try to set up the banking app. And as part of setting up the banking app, then you would typically just need a text message or something sent to the device. And as they had their SIM card, then they would receive the text message, which they could use to successfully set up the banking app. And the reason that they were trying to get into the banking app was because through the app, it can reveal or it can tell you what your PIN number is. So then they've got your banking card, then they've got your PIN number, and then they can go off shopping.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot of sophisticated, sort of targeted attacks which are happening with these people, and you can only be as safe as you can be. I mean, I know when I used to go to the gym personally, I was absolutely amazed at the number of people who would put stuff in the locker and not have a padlock. And I'd open up locker full of stuff, close it, open up a locker full of stuff, close it, open up a locker full of stuff, close it. And I did think to myself, I know we're kind of in an open gym and there's CCTV everywhere and things like that, but if you were over the other side of the gym, you couldn't really see the lockers very easily, and especially the one that you've particularly put your things in. I thought just buy a padlock, and just make it a bit more secure. So remember, with your security in computers, it's not always just about the software security, it's also about physical security of your devices as well. And I don't know how sophisticated SIM card cloning is, but if somebody steals your SIM card, it's quite obvious on your phone that it says your SIM card's missing. But if they then are able to clone it, I don't know if that's possible, but then, if they were able to clone it in the gym, even with a sophisticated device, you'd never even know that they've stolen it. So, yeah, keep your valuables secure is the bottom line, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I've actually been a victim of credit card fraud myself, actually, which I didn't actually realise at the time. It was only when the bank actually came to me and said, we think someone's stealing all your money, and then that triggered me to kind of go through and double check a few things, and yes, they were quite right. So although there are lots of bad people out there, basically, I'm reassured by the company that I bank with and all these other security things that are in place that nothing's ever 100% foolproof, and hackers will always find a way. But I'm reassured that my bank has got my back. They came to me. Yeah. They gave me all my money back. So, to be honest, I wasn't massively, I wasn't too distraught or too upset at the fact that they'd the crime had happened in the first place, because it was all resolved and I got everything back, and then it was fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, banks will protect you against fraud, which is reassuring. It's certainly inconvenient though if you have to get cards reissued and things like that. But yeah, it's a very good point, Adam. Great. So I think there was something about some additional details, and then if you could tell us when this is going to roll out and who it's going to be rolled out to.
Yes, so to avoid situations like this where bad actors, where a bad actor has a cookie that marks a device as trusted, admins can configure a device to be trusted based upon login. If an admin gets legitimately stuck trying to access their admin control, other admins can temporarily turn off login challenges, including additional login challenges. Google strongly recommends only using that option if contact with user is credibly established, such as via a video call, or you can speak to them face to face and speak to the person that you actually know in person. So it is definitely somebody being legitimate. So the rollout for this rapid release and scheduled release for this is starting on October 24th. Google anticipates the rollout to be completed by November the 14th. And this is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, as well as legacy G Suite Basic and business customers.
Great, that's brilliant, Adam. Thank you. And we've just got one. Oh no, we've got a few more updates, haven't we? Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so we've got another 4. Not another 20, but we've got another 4. So next up, this one is all to do with Gmail. So you can now use built-in mail merge tags, such as @firstname, to personalize multi-send emails. So recently, Google made it easier to send individual emails to many recipients with the launch of multi-send in Gmail. Whether you're organising a large event or sending a newsletter to customers, multi-send emails look more professional than using a mass BCC. You will also see replies in separate threads, making conversations easier to manage. So from today, Google are announcing the ability to personalize multi-send emails with mail merge tags, such as @firstname and @lastname.
That's very interesting. That's almost a sort of replacement or challenge to some of the mass emailing programs that are out there, or systems that are out there, such as MailChimp. I mean, there's a lot more functionality that MailChimp has with certain things that it can do. But that's quite interesting that Google are sort of going down that route. The only thing which I would be a little bit concerned about there is you popping up on some spam lists or something like that if you went, depending on how big your user base is, because there's basically third-party companies or organisations out there, some of them are charitable, and they monitor the email flow around the internet, and they will put people on their spam lists depending on their criteria, and then other companies will look at those spam lists and sometimes reference those as whether the email should be blocked. So spam lists are quite complicated in how they work, and that would be my only concern around how that works with you potentially getting yourself onto one of those spam lists. But I think you'd have to go to a lot of users to sort of get into that territory. So how does this actually sort of work, Adam? I'm trying to understand how you put all of these people in, and it's interesting that it says that they're not going in the BCC. So I wonder how it prevents the end people sort of seeing the recipient list. Do you want to give us a bit more? I think you've got a bit more detail on how this works, haven't you?
Yes, so if you want to turn on multi-send mode, multi-send mode must be turned on to use this mail merge feature, and you can turn on multi-send mode using the button in your Compose toolbar. You can then add recipients to your email draft in the to line. If you wanted to insert mail merge tags, you can type @ and see a list of available merge tags. You can then insert the desired merge tag by pressing enter or by clicking on a merge tag. So currently the available merge tags are @firstname, at last name, at full name, and at email. So the recipients, so the people that you're sending the email to, when your email is sent, the first name and last name values will be taken from whatever is saved in Google Contacts, if that's available. If you add recipients who aren't in your Google Contacts, Mail Merge will try to infer the first name and last name based on how the name is formatted. Adding recipients to your contact list is the best way to ensure that they see the correct names in the emails that they receive. Also, future releases of this feature will provide support for custom mail merge tags using spreadsheets. So that's quite good. One final point on this, which I think will be very helpful for anybody that actually wants to use this. So before sending a multi-send email to recipients, you can actually send a preview of it to yourself. So if your draft has a mail merge tags, the test email will show the corresponding values for the first recipient that you're going to be sending it to. So I think that's really handy. I think it's always important to essentially proofread or just to double check something before you actually send it out, especially if it's sending out to quite a few people at once. So I think it is very handy to have the option to basically send one to yourself before you then choose to send it on to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think that's a very important feature. I'm still very interested to know how the recipients are not going to see the other people in the list that you're sort of sending, because it makes specific reference to saying it's more professional than using mass BCC. And the whole reason of using BCC is so that basically the end people don't see all the people that are being it's being sent to, so that you don't have any breach of GDPR breach, basically, of giving out emails. So I'd be quite interested to see how it's going to prevent that happening. Maybe it's just going to do it with these tags of using the first name, that sort of names rather than the emails or something like that. But I definitely say, yeah, give that a test either with the preview function or with your colleagues as well. You know, if you can send a live email, but just send it to some of your colleagues and see how that comes through. When's that going to be available, Adam, and who's that going to be available to?
Rapid release is starting on October the 24th. Scheduled release is starting on November the 7th. This is going to be available to Google Workspace Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Starter, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Plus, and Workspace individual customers. This is not going to be available to Google Workspace Essentials, Business Starter, Enterprise Essentials, Education Fundamentals, Education Standard, Education Teaching and Learning Upgrade, Frontline, as well as Legacy G Suite Basic and Business customers. This is also not going to be available to personal Google accounts.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So just available to those sort of slightly higher level business customers. And interesting that it's only available to Education Plus as well. This is another feature which, for some of our education institutions, if you want to take advantage of some of these more advanced features, you need Education Plus. I can imagine that would be useful for schools, but of course only schools who are using Google Mail, right, for their emailing. But I can imagine that would be very useful for sending across the sites. Lovely. What's next, Adam?
Great. So next up, this is to do with AppSheet. So you can now create and manage AppSheet databases available in public preview. So AppSheet is Google's platform for building and deploying end-to-end apps and automation without writing any code. So as we continue to enhance and streamline app creation, Google are introducing a built-in structured database in public preview. So AppSheet databases make it easy for you to organize and manage the data that power your apps directly inside AppSheet. So just a couple of notes on this. So access to AppSheet databases will be enabled by default for everyone. There will be no impact on existing apps. Users can connect a database to both new and existing AppSheet apps. Databases will be limited to 10,000 rows per table, 20 tables per database and 20 databases per user. So these limits may change when the feature becomes generally available.
Oh, okay. I don't have much of a input on this because I've got no experience of AppSheet, unfortunately. But the idea of building apps without code is appealing to me because I am terrible with writing code and programming. It's just something I cannot. I've always struggled with. My brain just doesn't work very well with that. So. So this is interesting as an AppSheet database, making it like, I'm just going to read that again. AppSheet database, making it easy for you to organize and manage data that powers your apps. I see. So these are kind of the databases in the background, which then the apps are going to use to do whatever the app needs to do. That makes sense. Okay, Adam, brilliant. I think you can tell us a little bit about how we can do this, right?
Yes, so admins and developers can create a blank database from the My Apps page, and if anyone needs a bit more guidance with this, Google actually has their own how-to series on YouTube for more information on building with AppSheet. So the rollout for this, it's available right now for everybody. And this is going to be available to Google Workspace Enterprise Plus customers, as well as those with an AppSheet license.
Ah, right. Okay, so right at the top end then with just Enterprise Plus, which again makes a lot of sense because that's the level of licensing you need to go to get access to these kind of custom apps that you're creating within your organization. That makes a lot of time. Makes a lot of sense, sorry. So, yes, what's our next update then, Adam?
Next up, we've got Google Classroom. So you can now save time by adding in grading category information before exporting Google assignments. So for teachers who export grades from Google Classroom to their student information system, or also known as SIS. So, Adam, do you think that's similar to what we use over here in the UK, the management information system? So I think maybe over in the US, they may call it a student information system. Over here, we call it a management information system, or MIS.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Adam, and not to sort of try and say the UK's better or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but Personally, I think MIS is actually a little bit more accurate than SIS because student information system is fine, but actually it handles staff data and to a degree handles parent data as well. So personally, I would say MIS is a bit more of an accurate term, but yes, it is the same. It is the same thing.
Right, so so for teachers who export grades from Google Classroom to their SIS or MIS, it's important to make sure that all data is transferred seamlessly. So starting today, teachers can include grading category information when exporting Google Classroom assignments to their information system. This highly requested grade export feature eliminates the previous experience for teachers having to manually change the grading category information. This highly requested grade export feature eliminates the previous experience of teachers having to manually change the grading category directly in their information system, which was both tedious and prone to error. So if you want to set this up, to set up your gradebook with grading categories, go to Google Classroom.google.com, click the class, select class settings, then set your grading categories. And just a note on that, the grading category titles should match the exact text in your information system gradebook. So it would be a little bit like, say, if you're wanting to upload a CSV file to a website, if you're updating something, the information that you use there, it can be very specific, and it is important that it is exactly the same. Otherwise, it just won't be read accurately on the other side. So after setting up grading categories, you can assign a grading category when creating an assignment. To export grades with grading categories, click SIS Export, select the assignment and click on Export.
Okay, that's a pretty useful feature for people who have that functionality within their management system. I think that management systems might work a little bit differently in the US compared to here in the UK. Typically, in the UK, the MISs that we have interacted with, they don't necessarily hold that much assessment information and that much kind of grading information. That tends to be more in a separate sort of system or a separate application. Having said that, there are some MISs that offer all of it. So I think maybe it's slightly different in America with how these SISs work with putting everything in one place. But if you have that functionality within your management system, then this is going to be fantastic because, as we know, the computer is excellent at taking information from one place and putting it in another place exactly and perfectly. And human beings, unfortunately, are not so great at that. It's one of the things that humans are not particularly good at naturally. So it's the more that you can get the computer to do that, the more that you can get the computer to do those functions, the better. And also, it's just quicker. You know, it's like if the computer can do it in the background, it saves the teacher time of entering it all manually. So that's very useful. What are we looking at with the rollout schedule of that, and who's that going to be available to, Adam?
So rapid release and scheduled release for this is starting on October the 26th. This is going to be available to Education Fundamentals, Education Plus, Education Standard, the Teaching and Learning Upgrade customers. This is also going to be available to Aspen and Skyward 2.0. That's not something that I'm familiar with. SIS customers. Apparently it's not available with Infinite Campus. Okay. This is also not going to be available to Google Workspace Essentials, Business Starter, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Plus, Frontline and Non-Profits, as well as Legacy G Suite Basic and Business customers. This is also not available to users with a personal Google account. So it's definitely education licenses and accounts only.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a very education-centric feature, so that makes sense. Great. And what's the last update that we've got today, Adam?
We've got today, so you can now configure app access control for third-party applications in bulk. So currently you can download and view a CSV file with information on accessed and configured apps. You can now use that CSV file to specify the status of each app, whether that's trusted, blocked or limited. So you can now upload the file back into the admin console for updates. So I think that should be handy and save some time. So controlling how apps across your organization access Google Workspace data is critical to the security of your end users and sensitive data. So this change makes it easier for admins to set these policies in bulk versus taking these actions individually, which can be time consuming.
Yeah, that's very good because I think this is talking about APIs basically, isn't it? It's like apps that are accessing Google in the background, and it can be very easy as an admin over time to sort of add these in, and then you can almost forget what you've added in or what access they have, unless you keep very specific records yourself. And even when you keep specific records yourself, again, it's kind of those things of when does an admin have time in their day to go, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll call up that spreadsheet of all of those APIs and just have a look at it and see if it's still relevant. You very rarely have your time in your day to be able to do that. So to be able to just at any point grab that file out and it all be current and it all be definitely what Google has set is very useful. And then, like you say, edit it in the sheet and upload it back that is very useful.
Yes, definitely. So to manage app access in the admin console, you can navigate to Security, API Controls, then go to App Access Controls. So rapid release and scheduled release is starting on October the 27th, and this is going to be available to Google Workspace Business Starter, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Fundamentals, Education Plus, Education Standard, the Teaching and Learning Upgrade, Frontline and Non-Profits, as well as Legacy G Suite Basic and Business customers. This is also going to be available to Cloud Identity Pro customers, and this is not available to Google Workspace Essentials customers.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you, Adam, and well done again for getting through all of those updates. Hopefully, that's going to be very useful to everybody. Right, well, that's it, everybody. That's everything that you need to know about latest updates happening around Google Workspace. Remember, we'll be back next Monday as well with a new update. And remember that there is a audio version of this podcast available from your podcast provider, as well as a video version available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7. Thank you very much for joining us this week.
We'll be back again next Monday with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.